For a long time now, I found myself questioning how to get into any game. I would pick up a game that I thought I wanted to play, I was told that it was amazing, but for some reason, after 20 minutes or an hour of playing it, I end up just wanting to drop it. I found myself feeling as if these games just weren't for me. It led me to playing a lot of the same games over and over, going back to games that I know deep down I didn't really enjoy, but also I just wanted to pass the time. It wasn't until I watched Shogun in July where I had this massive realization. The biggest reason that I get into games is because of something else. The other seems to push me towards playing any new title, and in this instance, Shogun made me deeply want to give Ghost of Tsushima a second shot. Well, technically a third shot. Both times that I tried playing it were over a year ago, and I just struggled heavily in enjoying it in any way. I was excited to play so much that the moment I got home and I was access to a PS5, I grabbed the controller, hit play, and started Ghost of Tsushima. Today I wanted to talk to you about how you can find enjoyment in games, or give yourself that push that you needed to check out a game that you've always wanted to play, but for some reason you never did, and mainly using maybe other games or just using other mediums. This idea is what I'm calling inspired to play games. So let's talk about it. If you're a subscriber of the channel, you might have realised a big shift over the last year or so with my content. I started to focus on trying to find ways that I could enjoy gaming again. One way that really worked for me was this YouTube channel for a really long time. It overcame this perfectionistic tendency and hurdle that I had in my mind towards playing games. It only, however, loopholed the entire situation. It didn't fix the root issue. I focused on many different ideas, however, nothing really stuck with me that pushed me into playing a new game until just a few months ago. In July, I went on holiday and did some thinking. While I was there, I decided to watch Shogun, and this show is absolutely phenomenal. When I was watching it, the only thing I could think about was Ghost of Tsushima. So the moment I got home, I wanted to just jump on and start playing, and this game was a breath of fresh air for me. It's the first game since Jedi Survivor that I've played from start to finish that felt genuinely great to play through, even though I had only played it around 90 minutes the first ever time. If you want to see my full thoughts about the game, then make sure to check out the deep dive that just released recently on the channel. What this showed me though was something more profound than just the gaming experience that I loved. It showed me that I can play a game because I was inspired to do so. I was using another medium to enjoy this particular title, to give me that push that I finally needed to really give it a proper shot. What I realized though is that yes, half the time I get hyped for a game, find myself enjoying it, but on the other half of the time, it's because something makes me want to check out a game, or maybe something makes me want to go back and replay it, or even open a new Minecraft save because I see some really cool building in a town and I just want to try and build it. This has all come after just trying to find ways to enjoy games again that works for me personally. And then I started thinking about previous experiences that I've had that made me want to jump into other games and, like I said, load up a new Minecraft world. And this ended up bringing me to this idea. And this is where I want to focus on the idea of inspiration and how that can allow you to enjoy a game again, and also some ideas towards titles that I want to check out and how I intend to use other mediums to get me there. The first medium of inspiration for me is podcasts, but more particularly history itself. I love learning about history, whether it's watching videos about various moments in time, or just listening to podcasts. Like I said, The Rest is History for me is one of my favourite ones to listen to when it comes to history-related content. With both of these, I found myself wanting to play very specific games. Those in particular might be very obvious for many, which would end up being many of the Assassin's Creed titles. Just the other day, I was listening to a Rest is History podcast episode, and they were talking about the French Revolution. Again, the only thing that came on my mind of what I wanted to do was play Assassin's Creed Unity yet again. And that's a game that led me towards wanting to learn about the French Revolution in the first place. So this is just a cycle of inspiration kicking in from every single area. I first picked up the game as a fan of the Assassin's Creed franchise, but then I wanted to learn more about the French Revolution. And then years down the line, I spent some time learning about it, and then had the desire to pick up the controller once again and play this exact title. It's not just Unity either. I also found this desire with Origins, and honestly, I found the desire to pick up Odyssey and give that game a second chance. Both of those games come to mind when I want to learn about anything in particular related to the Roman Empire or anything around that time period or later. I know Origins is obviously far closer to this entire timeline that I'm referring to, however, Odyssey does just add some level of feeling towards it as well for some reason. The last game that I find myself drawn to because of history is Civilization 6. The conquest of different empires in history is truly a draw to to me, and I really love learning about them, but it always makes me want to go back and play Civ. Utilizing these allows us to play games like Assassin's Creed, maybe even other games, for example like the Mafia series, because I am actually interested in that time of history as well, and learning about all of this stuff just from only the last century, and I find this all really interesting, and the Mafia series is again another series that I'm really interested in checking out for myself, so I might use that as an inspiration to kick me into wanting to play the games. Then you have movies and shows. This is truly what's worked for me, as I said just a moment ago. However, there are two more examples that I can see for myself. I started watching just a few months ago the Vinland Saga, and I intend to go back to it and actually properly watch the show. As I enjoyed the first few episodes that I watched, I just stopped because I found something else to watch for the time being. But one game was on the top of my mind, again, when I was watching this entire show, and yeah, I never thought I would be saying this, but that game was Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I'll get into in a moment another game that also was interesting to me, but this clearly shows that this system, for some reason, even makes me want to go and play a game that I absolutely hate. I thought Valhalla was awful, and I'm still yet to give it a second chance since my first ever playthrough back in 2020, and I still feel as if this game is bad and bloated, but something seemed to have worked. Something must have anyway, because I have this feeling to go play the game when I'm watching other things related to Norse life. This show was making me inspired to play a game that I hated, and this felt very odd. And clearly it shows that to some degree the inspiration for doing things is able to override other areas of the mind that we might not think of normally. It's able to override the biggest bit of hate that I have towards any game in existence and make me still want to go check it out. The other side of this though is that I did find myself wanting to finally bite the bullet and buy a game that I did for a very long time that was sat on my wish list, and that game is Valheim. I've always found the game interesting, and I've also been told by plenty of people that this game is a must-play game and it's a great little game to check out, and I've never really been pushed towards wanting to play it. I've kind of been interested, but it's not a game that I'm there jumping at the idea of playing. However, again, using this system could end up pushing me to finally check out a game that is beloved by most people I've ever heard discuss it. Another big one as well for me is the Penguin Show. I want to check it out for myself as I've heard amazing things about it, but also it makes me want to play the Arkham games. They are titles that I watched my sister play growing up, but I never really got to play them for myself. And I have had the games for ages, and I feel like the Penguin will be that, again, that show that will push me to play out maybe the entire trilogy or even play all 4 games and give them a proper try. You can even see this with YouTube when it comes to getting you inspired to play a game. I grew up witnessing my brother and sister play the Metal Gear games, and I love watching massive deep dive video essays about the entire franchise. It's one franchise that I can't wait to actually give a proper go for myself. And I love these games, even though I've never really played them, but I hold them in a very high standard in my mind. I do intend to play Snake Eater when it does eventually release, as I am really interested in just checking out and playing it with more up-to-date systems instead of going back and playing it on the old school systems, but then most likely I would then check out Sons of Liberty and eventually the other titles as well. It's a series that I'm incredibly invested in and I'm really interested in, and I know way too much about it, even though when you think about it, I've never played any of the titles properly myself. I've only watched others play it, and I've also watched videos about it. I know so much about this franchise and I've never played it, and it makes me want to check out these games deeply. Another franchise that I love, that I've always wanted to play properly, but when I was younger I got easily scared when it came to any game that I was playing across the board, and it always put me off of ever actually fully playing the game, and that series was Dishonored. I remember when I was a kid and there was a video that released that really made me want to check out the title, and it was by this guy who I have no clue what the channel is now, but he made a non-unnecessarily killing series where he tried to get away with not being caught at all and also not killing anyone who wasn't an assassination target. It was a great series to watch and it made me just want to play the game. These are the sort of things that can inspire you to play games, and I love the idea of using things like movies, things like shows to bring us to that point. I wanted to not just talk about what I've focused on and, what I intend to do, but I also wanted to talk about how you can actually use this strategically to get inspiration to play games that you're interested in. The first thing that I think is an interesting way of doing this is to look into these things as phases. For example, let's say you want to play Assassin's Creed Origins if you haven't before. Maybe you've struggled with picking it up or something like that. So what you can do is you could start learning about history within that time setting. Maybe you could learn about Cleopatra, Julius Caesar, or more figures within that time setting. setting. Maybe even instead of using history, you could use another game that taps into that slight area that isn't necessarily Assassin's Creed Origins. For example, for me, this could be something like Civilization 6 and playing as Egypt. This system doesn't require you to need these things to enjoy games, but simply makes you more interested to check them out when you're getting into them. And the other thing as well is that you don't really need to heavily be thinking about how you could do this. And even though I said a strategy of how to do it, I don't really think you necessarily have to go that deep into thinking about it and strategizing your plan. You might be like many people who are in my comment section currently who say things like how they're unhappy with the current state of gaming right now. For now, disconnect from them, enjoy other forms of media and try to stop playing games just for a little bit. This system of being able to enjoy games actually brings forth one of the things that I think is more important than ever that people don't realize, which is disconnecting from something that you spend a massive amount of time in. Just because you have nothing else to do doesn't mean that you should be spending all this time doing it. If you're bored with games and you want to find something that you genuinely enjoy, then stop playing them just for a little bit. Go do other things, experience life, learn about the world, check out other things, check out other shows, other movies, whatever it might be, and allow your mind to be drawn to whatever it ends up taking you towards. Fundamentally though, I do want to say that this may not work for every single person, and it may not work to make you enjoy everything you want to play. It's not a system that's going to override genuinely bad games. It won't work for everything, and it's not the thing that you need necessarily to enjoy games again. You'll probably end up just wanting to mix and match different ideas, different styles, and see what works for you. And then hopefully you'll be able to find a game that you're able to play, enjoy deeply, and end up jumping into once more, and be able to have those moments like playing a game like Skyrim, The Witcher 3, GTA 5, Red Dead 2 for the first time. I wanted to spend just a moment discussing why this topic is important to me. I want you guys to also be able to find ways of enjoying games, or also just find ways to start enjoying them once more. I found myself struggling for quite a while to get into any form of game, and generally, gaming over the last few years has been all about that. In 2020, I hit a point where I was playing games that I didn't really like, and I just felt like I was wasting my time away all the time. Which obviously, there is an argument that you could use to saying like, oh yeah, that's true, but also there's also the argument that everything, if you just think about it long enough, is probably a waste of time. I did find a loophole though, which was this channel to get me back into them, but now I'm trying to focus on actually enjoying games, playing them, and not necessarily focusing on what I'm going to do with this entire idea afterwards. The first step that I took was going away and really thinking over life, and as I mentioned in this video as well, it all stems from that moment of just taking a break and having a realization of what actually is getting me to play games, and that a lot of the time is inspiration. Going away helped, so maybe taking a break from games might be that for you as well, taking a break from doing other things and just checking out life itself and other aspects of media. You can then come back to gaming with a different lens. I also at this moment of time took the pressure off myself. I know for others out there you may not be able to resonate with this, but there may be some who do, and it's the case that when you're making videos about games and it's your primary source of income, it doesn't necessarily make it more thrilling to sit and play games. And I feel like that concept is something that most people will understand if you ever try to do anything at all that you enjoy as a hobby and then do it as a job or a side job, whatever it might be. I took the pressure off YouTube being my main source of income, and it made me fall in love with playing games again and working on videos like this one. I've never had more drive in the last year than I have done over the last 3 months when it comes to making videos, and it all stems from this moment where I took my foot off the accelerator and just allowed myself to think over some things. Utilizing other methods such as finding inspiration via the likes of movies, shows, history, podcasts, videos, and other games gets me into playing games. My advice for those seeking ways to enjoy games again is to just stop playing them. You need to find out deep down why you don't enjoy the games, and maybe it's the case that you need to take a break. But enjoying life in many various different situations will be highly recommended by pretty much everyone. So focus on just enjoying the game that you're playing, stop taking in content that is overly negative all the time, and just focus on enjoying life, the experience of the game that you're also having if you're doing that as well, and just, not looking for every single little issue that you have with a game. With that all being said though, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I know that today's is probably the shortest in a very long time. However, I feel like I got to the point, explained the idea itself, and I didn't really want to try and elongate this video just for the sake of it. But with that all being said, if you guys did enjoy the video, please make sure to leave a like and do subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support the channel any further, then check out the Patreon. You get early access to videos like this, but also it's the case that you get behind the scenes and you get to hear about how these videos are made and whatnot. But yeah, with that all being said, I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.